This is week 1 on becoming a vessel God can use. This week's focus is understanding how and why God uses imperfect vessels. Yesterday I screenshot and sent everyone week 1, day 1. Today I'm going to just start reading them daily and putting them up on YouTube and sending to y'all individually because I feel like y'all will get it. This week's focus verse is, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways, neither your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Isaiah 55, 8 through 9. Okay, so day 1 lesson was, do I have to be perfect? The recap on that was, you do not have to be perfect to become a vessel God can use. The amount of spiritual growth you enjoy as a result of this study will be a direct result of the amount of time, prayer, and effort you invest. Today, day 2, is there a place for me? Do you ever wonder where you fit into God's grand plan? Do you ever wonder if there is really a place for you? Maybe when you think about the kind of vessel you are, words like chipped, cracked, broken, and dirty come to mind. Maybe you feel like a dusty old jar forgotten on the shelf, or an ugly water jug abandoned by the side of the road. Maybe you see yourself as a crystal vase. You look good from a distance and people admire you, but a closer look reveals cracks from the top to the bottom. You can't hold water if you tried, let alone provide life to another living being. Maybe you picked up this book on becoming a vessel God can use and thought, I don't even know what kind of vessel I am. How can God use me when I don't even know what I'm useful for? If so, you're not alone. When I was taught, turning page, this 10-week study for the first time, I quickly discovered that many women weren't sure what kind of vessel they were, not sure how and where God could use them. Some of the women were looking for a course on spiritual gifts, and while they are certainly some excellent and very valuable books on discovering your gifts and talents, this isn't one of them. Do you know why? Because if you're not living your life as a vessel God can use, understanding your gifts won't address the real problem. Your turning point will come when you understand how and why God works through frail human vessels like us. Once you understand those 2 things, God will use you in astonishing ways that 100 spiritual gift courses could never prepare you for. When you come to grips with the truth that God's thoughts are not like your thoughts, and His ways are not like our ways are not like His, I promise you, you will be transformed into the vessel He can use. Then you can take a spiritual gift class and get much more from it. Check out a book, Discovering Your Spiritual Gifts, by Don and Katie Fortune. When I became a Christian, I had very clear ideas about what my gifts were and how I could be useful to God. My attitude was, God has done so much for me, I want to do things for Him in return. Now everybody stand back and watch me work. Unfortunately, my focus was on me and the great things I was going to accomplish for God, rather than on God and the great things He wanted to accomplish through me. Understanding the difference between the 2 approaches ministries is at the heart of your study. For years, I wondered, why does God use everyone else? What's wrong with me? Deep in my heart of hearts, I long for a significance that can only come when our lives are channeled through which God can work. I wonder why some women were used in such powerful ways and to minister to others, while I felt so ineffective. Excuse me. Mind you, it's not that I didn't try. Far from it. One thing I do have is an abundance of energy and willing spirit. I poured myself into every ministry opportunity that came along. I taught vacation Bible study to 3- and 4-year-olds. I baked casseroles, cookies as part of the fellowship committee. I even tried to hand a Jello mold. Not a pretty sight. I invited newcomers to my home on behalf of hospitality committee. I planned wild and crazy church socials as a part of social committee. My Sunday school teaching experience ranged from kindergarten to junior high to high school students. Then I became a volunteer youth leader and went well beyond Sunday mornings. I invited the students and their parents to my home. I met with one-on-one throughout the week. I developed customized Bible study to tailor their current crisis. I visited them on their jobs. It was pretty easy since most of them worked at the mall. I peddled influence to get them jobs. I even hired them to work around my house. I took them to Christian rocks, concerts, and camping in the rain. I urge you to avoid the last experience at all costs. I volunteered to head up the missions committee. I read dozens of books on hows and whys and histories and future of missions. I attended missionary dinners. I had missionaries in my home, and I sent monthly support to missionaries, and still do. I corresponded with dozens of missionary families and even managed to convince some teenagers to go on short-term mission trips. I hosted weekly small group Bible studies in our home for nearly a decade. I worked for Bill Graham Crusade when it came to town and tried to be a mini evangelist. I memorized the plan of salvation and all the right scriptures of evangelistic explosion. I dropped hints to neighbors and co-workers every day of the week. I debated the merit of Christianity with the flair that would have put Josh McDowell to shame. I enthusiastically taught the joys of Christian life. Didn't live them, but taught them. I invited scores of people to church, to the crusades, anywhere I thought God may do his thing. Another pet project was my family. I've got a mom, a dad, several brothers and sisters who brought with them a parade of spouses, lovers, nieces, nephews, in-laws, you name it. I spent countless hours in agony praying over them. I planned and plotted. I manipulated people and events. On several occasions, I did a most remarkable imitation of the Holy Spirit as I witnessed to them and nearly dragged them into the kingdom. Finally, God showed forth his mercy upon my family. He moved me out of town. Well, that's not even the half of it. As you can see, I certainly wasn't lacking in zeal. Tech has always been in short supply though. Yet, no matter how hard I tried, I rarely seen God was using me in people's lives. Oh, there was odd breakthroughs here and there. Occasionally, it looked like something I said or done to make a difference. But in proportion to the amount of effort I was pouring forth, the returns was dismissal. In fact, God usually worked in spite of me, not because of me. I felt frustrated and exhausted. I had scattered my energy in 1,000 different directions, but saw little fruit. The only tangible result were the bitterness that enveloped me and the waking of confusion, frustration, and often anger people I left behind. So I stopped. I stopped committees. I stopped Bible studies and Sunday school and mission societies. I stopped making casseroles and sending note cards. I stopped the whole whirlwind. Funny thing though, no one seemed to mind. So I even stopped going to church altogether. Actually, I stopped living, period. Sure, I inhaled and exhaled, even mustered up a pulse. But in truth, I had withdrawn from life. I had effectively cut myself off from everyone and everything. I thought it would hurt less. I was wrong. The hours that were once fulfilled with activities, however fruitless, were fulfilled with depression and despair. Clearly, this approach wasn't working either. So I came up with a novel idea. I decided to study my Bible. I was determined to uncover what the heroes in the Bible had in common. What was it that I made so great that God of the universe hired me to get the job done down on earth? Do you know what I discovered? I discovered a collection of most unlikely people imaginable. From homemakers to prophets to prostitutes to murderers, God was able to work through anyone who firmly believed he could and would use imperfect vessels. As I gradually released my own agenda and turned myself, broken imperfect vessel that I am, over to God, he has begun to work through my life. This book you hold in your hand is one of the fruits of that process. Do you want to be a vessel God can use? Let go of your plans to do great things for God and cling to the truth that God is able to work through an imperfect vessel like you. This study will guide you through the process. It begins with the understanding of who God really is and who you are as his creation. It's a process that involves accepting the purpose for which God created you, even if it's not the life you envisioned for yourself. It requires being emptied of yourself and allowing God to cleanse you and fill you anew. Then and only then will you have anything to give in ministries to others. As you learn to become a moldable, usable vessel in the hands of God, you will discover that ministry is no longer a burden, no longer a list of things you have to do. Rather, it's a simple matter of listening for God's voice, then following where he leads. At the end of this book, you will find a summary of 5 requirements for becoming a vessel that God can use. I encourage you to turn there often to review them throughout the course of this study. Allow these principles to seep down into your soul and actually become part of your being, your vessel. In this way, the heart of the study, you will remain with you for years to come. It isn't what you want to happen when you undertake a study like this. Whenever you find yourself out of the step with God, you can stop and mentally go through 5 requirements to discover where you have gotten off track. Couple of questions. Imagine yourself as a vessel. Describe what you see. 2. Which is more important, understanding your spiritual gifts or understanding the one who imparts spiritual gifts, and why? 3. What is the difference between accomplished things for God and allowing him to accomplish his work through you? 4. Which of the above approaches best describes your Christian life so far? 5. What key lesson did you glean from today's study? And a little recap. Understanding what God wants to accomplish throughout your life is more important than deciding what you think you can accomplish for him. The key to effective ministry is understanding how and why God works through imperfect vessels like us. Thank you. Until tomorrow, have a great one. Bye.